Black Hills Information Security, the leaders in penetration testing and active defense. Email consulting@blackhillsinfosec.com to request a quote today. Threat Connect is the industry's most widely adopted threat intelligence platform. Built to unite the people, processes, and technologies across your security team, your organization, and your entire ecosystem of partners. Threat Connect's threat intelligence platform enables your team to collaborate, analyze, and make sense of threat data all in one place. Empower your team towards fast and efficient analysis that leads to decisive action. Transform your entire threat detection and response program today. Claim your free account at threatconnect.com/Security Weekly. Welcome back, everyone, to Security Weekly. This is our technical segment for this evening. Jack, I want to set the stage. This isn't necessarily a security project, but I kind of made it a security project. We had this ridiculous notion.
Wait. You're here this week.
What?
You're here this week.
I am here, yes.
Well, you're wearing a Brady shirt, so I thought you had to sit the week out.
For sheer political reasons, I will sit this week out. How's that? Because we all know that's no why.
Look, I'm not saying you have deflated balls, but I.
In any case,
it turns out that writing code and then writing secure code are two different things.
Two completely different things. And there's no, I mean, there is a reason why this code needs to be secure, but not really. But I kind of took the approach like, all right, I'm going to write an application, and then I'm going to think about, like, how would I secure this application so I can use it as an example for the show for everyone to learn and learn from my listeners, too, because I guarantee you, once you look at this project, you're probably going to find ways to make this more secure.
PSW at Security
Well, I put it out on GitHub. It's github.com/p-acidorian/DisplayGoat.
DisplayGoat.
This is just one part of the software that I've been working on lately.
DisplayGoat. That would be like a goat that you see.
Like a goat see? Yeah, it would be a goat that you see. That's exactly why they called it DisplayGoat, and there's a reason for that. So basically we have this HDMI router, and it's 8 in and 8 out. So 8 inputs, 8 outputs, and you can program it. So I am working on software that allows the guys to program it from a web interface. So I'll talk about the security of that.
Because those are always secure.
And that, let me tell you, I'm not going to spoil it for everyone, but my tweet this week was, am I really just saying, like, did I really just say, oh, and it's Telnet, but there's no authentication? Like, not only is it Telnet, but there's no authentication. Yeah.
I didn't realize you had joined Cisco.
It's bad. It's bad. We'll table that for another technical segment. But I needed a way. So we built a Raspberry Pi, and I said, well, let's just make the Raspberry Pi display images. Like you see, you can't see that on the screen. So I wrote the code so that you could see the images on the the images on the monitor. You can see like a quarter of the screen, maybe a third behind Jack. So anyway, images need to appear on our monitors, right? So my solution was, let's just get a Raspberry Pi. I'm like, and I'll figure out how to display images.
Or frame the cameras properly.
Yeah. I'll figure out how to display images on a screen. And then we'll connect this Raspberry Pi into the router. And then the router's connected to all 5 screens in here. And the reason I call it DisplayGoat is because when we got this working, I had Goatsy on every screen in here. It was a goat by the ocean.
Right.
So I had Goatseed the whole studio, but I had to come up with my first incarnation was this shell script. And for whatever reason, I decided to wrap it in a shell script. I don't know if that's the right way to do it or not. It might change. But then I had a crappy PHP application that lets you push a button and then basically change the directory of images that we're displaying for each show. So for Paul Security Weekly, there's a set of images we need to display in the screens. For Enterprise Security Weekly, there's a different set of images, and so on and so forth. So it turns out there's this command called FEH, F-E-H. And with like a whole bunch of command line switches, essentially what it does is it takes all images in a directory, and it displays them out to the screen. So I wrote a crappy little shell script. It's really crappy. And then I wrote an even crappier PHP application, which I might release, I might not, because it's really crappy. And then
you said PHP.
Yes, which implies crappy. It's a kind of a what do they call that? A double whatever. PHP is crappy, and it's a crappy PHP script. It's crappy. And the crappy
Cubed,
PHP script.
Squared.
Yes.
Squared.
Crappy squared lets you push a button and change images, right? It calls a shell script. And I wrapped it in a shell script to provide more security. I was thinking about it today. I suppose I could have built all of, that security into the actual program itself. However, since PHP does not do a very good job of security, to state the obvious, and anyway, I decided to put it in a shell script. And I got to thinking, like, how would you secure your shell script? So my strategy was build a shell script, build a lot of security in it, build a PHP script, build as much security in as I can, and hopefully that prevents people from basically putting goats on all the screens in the studio. I've since abandoned that strategy, and I'm rewriting the entire application in Python and Flask, which has turned out to be a really interesting exercise for me, and we'll see how security plays there. But I made a comment last week to Josh Abram. I said, I've been working with this bash script, and I'm like, bash is really hard to secure, right, when it comes down to it. And he said, yeah, you're absolutely right. So this is kind of a collaboration. If you scroll down a little bit, you can see they're using my software to display my script on the screen. Well, if the camera was frame rate, you can see that. But I found this article by MIT. And basically you run a set command, and it's set space -EUF space -O pipe fail. And there's an article that explains what all that is. The most important thing is the set -E, which a lot of people recommend. What that means, Jack, is that if any command in your shell script fails, the script exits. Normal operations is if your shell script is going through and a command fails, it keeps going.
Right.
So it does add another layer of security. However, you have to code around that. I have a command in my script that if it fails, it's okay, and it should keep going. And I'll show you what I added to protect that. So basically, I have a kill all command that kills any previous instances of the displaying images command. And if that fails, it's okay. It just means the first time that they've run it. So then I display usage. I set a home directory. If you scroll down, I'm running on Raspberry Pi. So if you scroll down a little more. So the weird part is, and we may run a separate segment, or I may talk about a couple of different things. The interesting thing is when you have a web server that calls a program or script, this is one of the reasons I had to have a script. If it calls a program that has to access the display, by default, like your www-data user, doesn't have access to manipulate the display of the currently logged on user, which in this case is Pi or PI, because you're not logging in as your www-data user. So I had to hack around that, and you have to set a home directory to run this command, and you also have to, later on in my script, you have to set the display variable. Now, even if you do those two things, so I have a home directory, I have a display variable set to :0, which is the local display on the system, you get an error. X Windows is a friggin' abomination, dude, and I didn't even go there. You and I both know, right, from working with Linux, that X as it's called, is a fucking abomination of. I think that's why Windows gained such popularity, is because X is such an abomination. But
wait. Since the anniversary update to Windows 10 and the September
it's
update
speed. Yeah, it's to
Windows 10.
It's catching up. But don't forget, Jack,
Win 10 is starting to make X look sexy.
Before there was Windows, or before there was a Mac, any kind of operating system, there was X.
There was X.
But the thing was, your X display was directly connected to the damn server. So you you had to worry about security, but it was directly connected to the server. So essentially what I have to do to make this script work right now is type the command xhost +. Don't do this, by the way. I'm saying don't do this. This allows anyone to connect to your X display. It's very bad. It's poor security. I know that there are ways in X to basically create an ACL. to who can do that. I haven't gotten there yet. I know someone's going to probably write in with the 3 commands and where they go, and then depending on what Linux distribution, there is 3 different freaking places you'll need to put that because X is an abomination, which is what I ran into. But that's how I made it work. So anyway, then I write some messages. If you're writing, it's interesting. So if you're writing shell scripts and you're running any command in Python or PHP, or you're writing shell scripts, you run into this problem. Languages that have to call an external program in order to do something, you run into this like chicken and egg problem, sort of. You can like either get the output from the command, like whatever it writes to standard out or standard error, or you can run that command in the background. If you try to run an operating system command in the background and grab standard error and standard out, good luck. Like the code solutions I saw were, I don't know if I even found a solution for that. Like it's really hard. So what I decided to do was call a shell script. That shell script writes all of its output to a file and to standard out, which is what the T command does. Basically says write whatever this command spit out, write it to a file, and then also display it to standard out, which is great. So I use T, and then output is my file. All right, so keep scrolling. Here's where we get into, I wanted to make sure that no one could use my crappy PHP script to exploit my crappy shell script, which turns out is pretty hard. So scroll down. We're on line 37. Yeah, okay. So line 38 says if $, you know what that is in the shell, Jack?
What do you think? I'm paying attention?
Yeah, work with me here. Interact with me here for a minute. Stop tweeting and interact with me.
I'm talking about what an awesome technical segment you're doing on Twitter.
I'm sure
you want me to pay attention to the segment?
Don't bullshit me. So, pop quiz. $,
Cheers.
What does that mean in Bash? Cheers.
Bash.
Do you know off the top of your head?
Bash. That's Linux shit.
It's the number of arguments passed to the script.
Right.
Okay. So this basically says if it's not equal to 1, because I only accept one parameter in my script, which is the directory of images, which is only the directory. It's not a full path. I hardcode the full path in the script, and I have you just pass me a directory so that no one can do any wonky stuff and try and do, like walk the command line through the script. You know what I'm saying? Local file include. Thank you. So no one can do any local file includes. I set the base directory, and then you just give me the subdirectory, and that's the only argument that I accept. Scroll down a little more. This was a lot of Google searching to find out how to do all this. The next one on line 45 is an if statement. Basically says $1. So if you sent me a parameter, one parameter, then it has to be alphanumeric. So A through Z, lowercase, A through Z, uppercase, or 0 through 9. If it's not, it says cut the crap. I only expect alphanumeric arguments, bitch, and then displays the usage and exits. Then, if you passed me one parameter and it was alphanumeric, so it also means you can't have a dash in your directory, but I didn't want to introduce any special characters so that if you figured out how to send a post request to my PHP, which is not hard, you could start trying to do stuff. I basically said, no, your directories have to be alphanumeric. If you have a non-alphanumeric directory, yes, you can create those in Linux. I don't accept those in my script. Then I said, make sure the file path exists. So if the path that you gave me, the base directory / the directory you gave me, if that exists, then good. If not, I say, dude, that directory doesn't exist. I'm exiting. That was more, not so much security, but just troubleshooting. So if there's a Samba share that they can access to populate the images inside all the directories. If they happen to delete one or whatever, I throw an error. Then I make sure the directory is not empty, right? Because the script assumes you're going to give me a directory with images. So I execute the command, right? $ open parenthesis ls-a, the directory you gave me. If that command fails, it says, hey, you gave me and I actually called him Punk. I'm like, yo, Punk, you gave me a directory that's empty. Go away. I've got nothing to display, so I'm not even going to try running. So if all that is good, I think my error checking, while it wasn't easy to figure out what all that stuff was, for most people that are probably more skilled in Bash than I am, that might have been easy. But error checking for me in Bash, I had to do some Google searching because mostly I write scripts for myself, and I don't do a lot of error checking because I'm the only user. So this was a script that other people had to use. I set whatever you gave me to the show variable. I export my display to the main display if you scroll down. Then I kill all previous instances of the feh command. Feh is the command that displays all images in directory to the output. And then after the kill all, I put double pipe : and basically what that says is no matter if this command fails, like don't throw an exception, like just keep going because it doesn't matter. Then I say $? Right is the exit status. Of course you know, Jack. $? Right is the exit status of the previous command being run. If the exit status is not 0, 0 being it was successful. If it's any other exit status, I say, well, my kill all command failed, not a big deal. So what? Go forward. Then I execute the feh command with a whole bunch of arguments. -R, capital R, 3 dash capital Y, lowercase x, dash lowercase q, blah, 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 blah. Basically, those are all commands to feh to essentially say, read all the images from this directory. If the image doesn't fill the whole screen, backfill it with black and keep going at a certain time interval, which I set to 3 seconds, and use this directory, which is the parameter. Now, when you use a bash variable inside of a command, you have to do $, open parenthesis, variable name, close parenthesis, which can be kind of annoying to figure out that that's how bash wants to do it. Then I check the exit status of my feh command, and if it's not equal to 0, in other words, if feh exited with an error, which after all my error checking, it'd be pretty hard for feh to have an error at this point. But if it did, it said, hey, the feh command failed, and this is in fact a big deal. If not, it exit with success, and then it echoes success, and then the last command is basically exit with whatever the last command's exit status was. So that's how I structured my bash script. I did do a lot of research on how to create secure bash scripts, and I think I got a lot of the way there. I don't think I'm done by any stretch. Again, I probably want to take excuse me, what I learned here and put that in Python and do all this error checking in native command calling in Python is probably where I'll go next. But it's really hard to secure. And if you don't pay as much attention as I did, Jack, and you want to write a PHP script that calls a command, like you're basically screwed, essentially. Like someone is going to find a way to break your stuff. So I tried to put protections in there. So when you are, the flip side of that is, outside of my use case, if you are writing a bash script to execute a command with a parameter that you've given it for whatever reason, I think this is a pretty good start to writing a script that handles all of the exceptions. I am certain that there are people listening today that are way better at bash scripting than I am. If you have suggestions, again, in the show notes, you can get the link to my GitHub. You can download my script, you can run it, you can modify it, you can submit things. I realize that all of the people listening, likely there are many people, more than many people that are better at this than I am, that can make suggestions, and I'm more than happy to hear them. That's how we all learn. I will come back on the show and share what I've learned. Again, github.com/psadorian/DisplayGoat is the script I created. I will likely swap out the feh command, as one of the limitations in feh that I found was that you can't put transitions between the images. So it's like static image, and then it's a direct cut static image. That's all you can do with feh. You can't put any fancy transitions between them. There are some, oddly enough, X Windows commands where you can do that. I'll probably do that next. So that's just some bash scripting. I may go through my PHP script that did that, and certainly when my Flask application is done, I'll go through that one as well, and I'll go through the ridiculous Open Telnet on the HDMI router that we got, which is just Telnet. And one person commented on Twitter, Telnet without authentication. They're like, that's great. At least no one can sniff your credentials. I mean, there's always that, right? Okay. Coming up next, some actual research, not just ridiculous bash scripting commands, from our friends at CyberArk Labs. Make sure you stay tuned. How to bypass safe mode and wipe your logs. Coming up next.